Hello, and welcome back to In the Studio with Ophelia. I'm Ophelia, and thank you all so much for joining me today. Today, I thought it would be a great idea as I spent some time recently just having a look at art videos on YouTube, and it's literally what I love to do. And I kept seeing videos pop up of people doing artwork with shadow sets in watercolor. I tried my very best not to even pay attention to what the brand was, because I knew in my soul if I investigated the brand and clicked on their links, then I am that kind of person that would need to own the watercolors. So I made sure not to actually do that and order the kind of watercolor that they were using. But what I noticed in these shadow sets is that it looked as though all of the paints were mixed with a black paint to give it more of like a shadowy or a dark, moody type color. And that's what I thought I would try to do today. It is my plan to swatch my watercolors and mix everything with black to see if I could get the shadowy, moody type colors, and hopefully, excuse me, hopefully I will be able to pull it off and have a go with painting something moody or shadowy, shall we? So I hope that you will grab your paints. I will be using my Lukas watercolor, or Lukas 1862 watercolor set, and it's just my plan to mix my colors with black to just see what type of shadowy colors that I can get. So grab your watercolor. Let's get to swatching and playing with some shadow watercolor. I hope that you guys enjoy this. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up, and I hope that you would subscribe and hit that notification bell to let you know when I upload. Please share this video and my channel with your friends, because it just helps out so much. And in all honesty, all I can say is how much I appreciate each and every one of you for your absolute kindness. Just thank you for being you, and thank you for being here. I shall stop talking. Let's get to swatching and that rabbit hole of swatching, because I love to swatch watercolor. So this may lead to some other things, because I'm a swatchy swatcher. So grab your watercolor. Let's get busy creating some shadowy, moody type artwork with our watercolors. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get started. Hello. The very first thing I did here was map out a grid for swatching my colors, and then I'm using this flower palette set, and I'm just putting out spaces of the black paint. I'm not very scientific about it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just loading up my brush with some paint and swatching out the colors. I'm going to have to say up front here that I apologize for the audio if it sounds really different. I'm staying after school today to get this done, so I'm in my classroom, and I hope the audio is okay. Also, stay tuned to the end of this video, as I have a little bit of sad news regarding my watercolor palette. But for now, I'm just reloading the palette, swatching the colors, not being very scientific about it, not even really making sure that I have equal parts. I just want to see what the color looks like mixed with that black pigment. What I notice immediately is, and I guess this is why I love Lukas watercolors and love using this watercolor set, it's so easy to lift my colors out of my palette, and I'm finding that I really get some really nice and vibrant mixes. Once I make my way through the colors on my palette, I'm now moving to this Overflow palette, and this is where I realized that record keeping is very, very important, and that is where I failed. So I go find my sketchbook where I keep in the colors of where I've swatched that out because I didn't make an actual swatch card, and now I'm just mixing those colors with the same black pigment to create some shadow mixes. The colors that I did not actually mix with black would be the already dark colors like Payne's Gray and Sepia. I just chose a few of them off of my palette, and what I'm very surprised at is just the vibrancy and the richness of the colors that I've created. And a lot of the time, because the colors did lift so easily, I found that I accidentally put in too much black or too much of the other color. And so I just make my way around my palette, mixing all the different colors with black. As a side note, I also have to tell you guys that I tried this very same thing with Daniel Smith Lunar Black, and oh my gosh. For me, swatching watercolor, it's a rabbit hole. I could swatch watercolor all day long. I don't know what it is about it that makes me love doing it so much, and I'm certain it's just the color that I get to create. But I just honestly love swatching watercolor, and I'm not even having to be neat about it or make my swatches look fancy or anything like that. I think I just love creating new colors. Because the black pigment in my Lukas set is so strong, I found that I had a difficult time seeing which one of the wells I'd already used. So that took me a little bit of time to get used to, I guess, to make sure, excuse me, to make sure that I didn't end up mixing two colors in one puddle. And I'm already just so inspired by the colors that I've created. Here's what it looks like all finished. And so now I'm just taking some random pieces of watercolor paper, and I'm going to cut those down to 4 by 6. And I should have thought ahead of this, knowing full well with all the colors that I created, I would want to do more than one. So you'll see me come back and tape down some more pieces of paper. And here I'm just trying to figure out which ones I want to start with. And I'm using just a number 10 round brush, and then trying my best, because remember I was not scientific in the beginning, so I'm trying my best to then recreate the colors that I created in the mixes. And then the fun begins of just painting these down, and I'm going for more of an abstract landscape-ish type color. And to keep myself a little bit more organized, in that first one I used permanent orange, rose genuine, and then permanent blue. And now I'm mixing up a different set of colors. And I found that the more I tried this, the more fun I had doing it, because every single color left me wanting to try another combination of colors. I will go ahead and admit to you guys up front, I am so not a true watercolor painter, and I am certain that this will make someone go absolutely crazy with my brush strokes and such like that. But boy, did I have so much fun doing this. As I am painting, and I've added now 2 more, I'm allowing the others to dry as I'm painting these out. And I know in this one I'm using purple, which I was really shocked at how much I love that color. So I used purple and turquoise. And then I just keep going around, wetting the paper beforehand, and then just putting down my different mixes in these landscape-ish type feels. And then once they dried up, I go back over them, which, thank goodness, because I'd already started forgetting the colors that I had selected. So I just start going back over them to deepen up that color. And this one was burnt sienna, olive green, and I believe permanent blue or Prussian blue. Maybe even cerulean blue. Just going back around, deepening up the color, and I'm loving them. Once those are all done, I realized now I'm going to take the extra pieces of watercolor paper, paint out those same mixes or swatches of those same mixes, because I want to test something out before I actually go on to the painting that I'd just done. And I'm truly just so inspired by the beautiful colors. I think that's what makes me want to go crazy with mixing or doing watercolor swatches. So now that I've got these all swatched out to look similar to the mixes that I created on the cards, I found some gouache in my drawer, and what I'm going to do is use the swatches and test out color combinations to see which gouache colors would pop on the actual painting. So I grab my Jerry's Jumbo Jet Black pencil, and then I start making marks. Here I'm using permanent orange and lemon yellow to add in some details to finish off the painting. I went back and used that scratcher tool or color shaper tool and then just took some of the black gouache and a brush and added splatters. And then I continued testing, seeing which color combinations would actually pop most on the painting that I created. And I keep going, making my way around all 4 of those paintings. Because I am an abstract painter, I decided that I would kind of treat these little tiny paintings just as I would an abstract painting. I used white with each one of the gouache combinations because I wanted the actual tiny details of paint to actually pop on the shadowy, moody type background. And so I found that I would just sometimes paint down the swatch, but then add a bit more white to the mix to make the color a bit more bright. And then after I put in those tiny little details with, I'm using just a small flat Creative Inspirations brush, I will go back with that Jerry's Jumbo Jet pencil and I guess define that little shape or outline or mark off that little shape just to make it a bit more pronounced. And again, with a wet brush, a wet round brush, and some black gouache, I'm just going to add splatters. One thing that I can say that I've learned from all of this is that I should have gone in with the actual maybe brighter color instead of completely mixing everything with the dark paint so that the background wouldn't have been so dark. However, I really do find that I like the way that these guys all turned out, especially as I was just experimenting. After I get all of the cards all done, and I completely let everything dry overnight, I get some double-sided tape, as well as I found some Strathmore mixed media paper, or I have Strathmore mixed media paper, and I use these little tiny paintings and turn them into greeting cards or thank you notes for friends. For a bit of sadness, y'all, I don't have any still photos to make this video look very fancy and such because I've lost my Lukas watercolor palette. Somebody send help. Stay tuned, and thank you guys so very much for joining me today as I experiment with this. I'll see you next time. Bye.